And what you have to realize, I think, in a bank is that they have so little tolerance for things going wrong externally. So launching an MVP, getting something wrong that crosses an important policy line, the reputational risk flows straight back to the mothership. So you've got to be hyper aware of that. Look at areas where you think, I could probably push it a little bit here, and other areas where, it's a red line, and just take the extra time to do things when it's an area that you've got a red line in.
Welcome to the Bank Tellers, coming to you live from Money 2020 Europe 2025. I am your host, Sheryl Chen, Head of Content, Money 2020 Asia, and today we're diving deep into the world of embedded finance and banking as a service with one of the industry's most innovative leaders. Our guest today is Andy Ellis, CEO of NatWest Boxed, a groundbreaking banking as a service venture that is reshaping how financial services are delivered in the UK. Andy brings a wealth of experience to the table, having previously served as Head of Ventures at NatWest and CEO of Metal, a digital banking app. Under Andy's leadership, NatWest Boxed has been at the forefront of embedded finance innovation, recently making headlines with their partnership with the AA. Andy is known for his insights on how to build how embedded finance creates seamless customer experiences and builds loyalty across ecosystems from retail to transport and beyond. Today, we'll explore how NatWest Boxed is powering the UK's embedded financial experiences, the evolution of banking as a service, and what the future holds for financial services integration. So without further ado, let's welcome Andy Ellis to the Bank Tellers. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Sheryl. Thanks for the kind words. It's nice to be here.
Fantastic. So how has your experience at Money 2020 Day 2 been so far?
Pretty good. This place is incredible. So meeting some old friends, doing a couple of things like this. Very happy. I used to work at ABN AMRO, so I have an affinity to Holland, and I went to university in Holland. So I think I can kind of hit a few things by being here.
Meeting friends, having fans outside. I don't know if the camera can pick it up.
Yeah,
he has a very loyal following of fans.
4 people.
Ooh.
So hi, look at that. I feel like a tennis player. You got people in your camp.
Okay, so first question. Looking back, what has been the most defining moment in your company's growth journey? Was there a particular challenge or opportunity that shaped where you are today?
So that's a great question, actually, because I think, my history has been growing, innovating within a bank and growing businesses within a bank. And the idea is to scale them. And I'm very aware that not all innovation in a bank is successful. And sometimes it's, difficult to scale these businesses. They don't last the period of time that we need them to last, etc. So when I was thinking about this, I think there are 3 external validations of what we've been doing. The first one on Boxed is we raised external capital. So very unusual for a bank to do this. And we created a joint venture with Warburg Pincus and Vodeno, which is owned by Warburg Pincus. So for me to kind of have an idea, sell the idea into the bank, build something that's investable from someone like Warburg Pincus was a fantastic validation of what we achieved, and then a really big lift for the team. Secondly, after going through the joint venture and learning lots of stuff and using the technology, UniCredit then came in and bought the entire European business, the Vodeno business, and everything that we'd done, which was again, another validation too, and equally then enabled me once we got momentum to continue to build the business. So that was fantastic too. And then thirdly, with the AA, we signed a 7-year contract worth a lot of money. And, having got capital, learnt, sold, and then done a really, really big deal, I think that number 3 again was another external validation that gave me and the team a big lift. And when you're innovating within a bank, anything that gives that external credibility and multi-year kind of commitment is very useful.
So you mentioned about how you started building internally from within the bank and you proposed it got basically pushed through. So how was it like building and incubating something from within the bank till it is like, because I am very sure that there are many layers of approval that you had to go through, many minds that you had to convince. So how was that journey like? Could you walk us through?
Yeah, it's you're quite right. There's lots of people to convince, and you have to beat everybody else to the resource, the kind of precious resource with your narrative and your strategy and your relationships, quite frankly. So at the time when I started this journey, I had an incredibly supportive CEO. She was strategic, supportive, wanted to do something a little bit different, and she had high trust in me. So without that wouldn't have been at all possible. And then you've got to quickly get scores on the board. So build something. You've got to deliver, show that you're getting traction. And then when it comes to the kind of what are you allowed to do, what are you not allowed to do, you have to be comfortable in the grey space. Because in a bank, there's lots you're not allowed to do, but you're given a brief to do innovative stuff and to kind of go quicker. And no one's going to tell you what the rules are. So you have to be comfortable in the grey, and I think you've got to have enough experience to kind of know really what's important and what's not important. But that last one takes quite a little bit of knowledge of the corporate world and be able to navigate through safely.
Got it. So basically being able to innovate, to move very quickly, very similar to a startup, but within the environment of like being a bank.
Yeah. And what you have to realize, I think, in a bank is that they have so little tolerance for things going wrong externally. So launching an MVP, getting something wrong that crosses an important policy line, the reputational risk flows straight back to the mothership. So you've got to be hyper aware of that. Look at areas where you think, I could probably push it a little bit here, and other areas where, it's a red line, and just take the extra time to do things when it's an area that you've got a red line in. But again, no one tells you that. You just have to know it.
Got it. So very interesting that you mentioned MVP, which was actually what I had bookmarked in my brain to ask you about. Because when you're building fast, you're scaling fast, and you're basically building a product and trying to, while getting buy-in from your key stakeholders who might or might not see the same vision, right? What did your MVP look like?
So dealing with MVP, there are some things you can MVP and some things you can't. So you can't MVP onboarding, such that you can kind of onboard someone, a customer that shouldn't be onboarded. No MVP allowed. But what we did, in the early days, we'd make sure that the NatWest name was nowhere near the brands that we launched. So that gave us a little bit of air cover to kind of launch without all the features that we particularly would have liked to have. But we make sure everything's tested, when you're doing a payment, when you're giving a loan, it has to work. So you can kind of MVP, without having lots of deep features in there, but it kind of has to work. So, that's the way to think about it.
Got it. So now that NatWest Boxed is where it is, right? I wanted to ask, so in a very, I would say, increasingly competitive landscape where banks are also coming out with their various BaaS solutions. So BaaS solutions, banking as a service solutions, yes, BaaS solutions.
S.
I know.
Double S.
Why would a business pick your company over another?
I think it's pretty clear. We are we fit into a certain company, and those companies tend to be large. I'll use the AA as an example. They've got over 12 million members. They don't call them customers; they call them members, which is important for their strategy. We've got 19 million, so we know how to look after lots and lots of customers. They've been around for, I think, about 110 years. We've been around for a long time too. They've got trust, credibility. So do we. So it's a very good brand match. But equally, if you're the executive of the AA, you want to look into, you're putting a large amount of your strategy in my hands.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that I'm there, I'm backed by a significant business. So you'll see now that, we're now putting NatWest at the start of our brand names, not at the end, because we think at an institutional level, the trust and the support that brings and the regulated entity that it represents is really, really important.
I wanted to ask a little bit more to expand your partnership with AA. What does that mean how does that look like? How does that partnership look like? And what does it mean for the future of embedded finance?
So it's quite basic in some regards to begin with, because effectively what the AA are saying is that they believe, and they've got kind of track record of this, that they can cross-sell to their members, or put it another way, their members have a trust in them that means that they will buy financial services products from them. So that's kind of step one. So like a number of these large consumer businesses, they have a retail finance strategy as well, and that could be insurance, could be lending, could be different types of lending. So they know that their members want to save money with them. They trust them. They know that they want to borrow when they've got something to buy, and that can be anything from a car, which is the AA's core area, to honeymoons, to garden, patios and what have you. So it can be absolutely anything, and things that you could naturally go to a bank for, but they'll go to a large consumer brand. Members is really important. We give different rates for members. So not only the AA, but lots of when we talk to other retailers, the loyalty ecosystem, how you keep customers engaged, using their points, giving them discounts in everything is really important, and that's a multi-year journey. So at the start, pretty basic products, but we'll go big. So these need to be really big scale numbers. Then we will move into more contextual kind of representation of those products. So, for example, if you're searching on driving lessons, or you're buying multi-year warranties for your cars, you might need to save up for that. You might need to borrow for that. And, kind of exposing that when the customer's in that digital journey or predicting it is the next phase of where we're going. But we went into this as a strategic partnership, which is, let's stand up some basic products, let's sell them direct to the customers through the AA white label brand, and then let's go on a journey of working together. For example, we're live already on savings and lending. In fact, we went live on lending yesterday. We'll be live in aggregators in about 3 or 4 weeks, so that's the volume's going to really come through. But you look at AI and you look at aggregators, and in 7 years' time, my guess is that business model is going to look a bit different. So we need to work together to kind of get ahead of where the aggregation, where the distribution is going to work with these brands, to really understand the strategy and work through. And that's one of the things that surprised me in these conversations, in that when you go and it's not a transactional kind of SaaS product, it's how do we market this? How do we activate it? Where's the market going? Let's work together on it. So you have to be able to kind of sit credibly across the market and across the table and figure out some of these solutions with your partners.
Got it. You mentioned AI, and previously you also mentioned that some things cannot be MVP'd. For example, onboarding.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand, how does your company, if it isn't already implementing AI or any other emerging technologies, how is it looking at implementing AI?
Yeah. So as I'm sure every other business in this big conference, everyone's got AI front of mind. We're doing the way I think about it, and I hope it kind of changes quite quickly, my point of view, depending on how quickly AI is going. But to date, I've been a fast follower, and then I've been focusing on the internal productivity. So, like almost all companies, I think, our coders and engineers have got access to AI to improve their coding efficiency, which has happened. And the engineers love it, and I'm yet to yet to figure out how to measure it and make sure that, that comes through to the bottom line, but that's another story. We are increasingly turning on the AI tools within our SaaS partners. So when it comes to our CRM systems and what have you, and our office productivity tools, we're turning things on. So we use the Google platform. So everyone in our business has got access to Gemini. So for internal productivity. And then my third and really important area that I'm looking at is customer service efficiency. I've got 200 people doing operations. And I'm growing my business, 5-10x over the next 5 years. And I want my ops team to stay a very similar size that they are today. And that's only possible by proactive use of AI. So it's on my mind. Obviously, as a part of a bank, I have to make sure things like model risk and privacy, I have to go through all the hurdles, but we're getting pretty quick at that. And then I guess the next horizon is, getting ahead of it in terms of agentic AI and where that fits. But given the size of my business, I can't have my own private model. I can't invest lots and lots. It's about turning things on and being smart about how we use our AI.
Could you tell us a bit more about how you're planning to implement or use agentic AI? I feel like throughout this entire conference, I keep hearing every single hour. If I had a bingo, everyone talks
crazy,
about agentic AI.
I'm not sure. I haven't got any plans to use it right now. Let me be clear. And if you'd asked me 3 months ago, I might never have even heard of it. So this thing's moving very quickly. I think there's some very good use cases on things like lending, when you've got manual processes and you've got to send it, particularly secured lending, and you've got to send all your onboarding documentation. You've got to send all your your mortgage and your whatever's required for a mortgage deeds and what have you. I can see some manual use where an agent can go in and work that out. I haven't got any plans to do it yet because most of my business is consumer, but I can see that as a real issue. And then I just think I need to start thinking about how others are going to use agentic AI to disrupt the business model that I'm working on. So my entire premise is that a brand can attract financial services due to their brand or due to their digital journey. And if that gets highly commoditized and agents are actually moving around money for customers based on very rational interest rates, for example, there's a long way to go to get there. I think that could disrupt my business model. So I need to think through with our customers how we look at that.
Got it. And as we move into the future where we are only going to be more reliant on AI, what are some guardrails that you have set in place to make sure that we're keeping everything in check?
Yeah, I mean, because we're regulated and because we're part of a bank, we have to make sure that the answers are somewhat accurate and the
not hallucinating.
Reduce the hallucination. And make sure the data's not going off somewhere where it shouldn't. So they're all basics. And I think like most banks are, certainly the ones I've spoken to, you want humans there to oversee it or make the final decision. So I think we're little, even on our coders and our customer services folk, it's have a look, do a check. Nothing you should do should be without human eyes on it. And I think that's standard. I don't know how long that lasts, quite frankly. But that's where we are at the moment.
Especially because you mentioned the third layer being customer service, right? And it has to be, I guess there has to definitely be the element of the human touch, because at the end of the day, that cannot be replaced. And also overseeing to make sure that AI isn't up to anything funny.
Maybe. But maybe when we all get used to it, you don't. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I am quite used to when AI starts hallucinating. I'm like, wake up. Let's go back. Bad answer. Bad AI.
Yeah. We'll wait for it to become good AI. But it's moving so quickly, and I don't think regulated banks are going to be the absolute bleeding edge on this. It's a world you can catch up quite quickly, I think.
So I also wanted to ask, how can banks continue to innovate and continue to create projects like like new spin-offs like what Box is doing?
I think every bank's different. Every bank's different. The context when I started, with this chapter of my career, was a world which I think it was unusual. So it was a world where, and I started my life as a coder. I coded in COBOL, believe it or not, for 5 years. I ran engineering teams. And in 2015-16, I was sat around a bank exco, and I was the only one that wasn't the head of technology that had any idea what technology was. Arguably, we'd been underspending on technology, and there was this real, fintechs, tons of money going into fintechs, and fintechs really getting traction, and perhaps we thought at the time plausibly providing an existential threat. So that in itself was the ingredients or the context for someone like me going, quickly, Andy, here's some cash, build it on the side, build a speedboat, go quickly. If I'm to wind the clock forward to now, I think, the tech, the kind of the use of the cloud, the general tech capability, the general understanding of data across all business units is much greater. And I think we understand the threat of the fintechs and the neobanks a lot better now. Not to say it's not a threat and it doesn't impact our business. We understand it. It's a bit more kind of clear. So I don't think that world kind of recreates itself. But I think you're probably more likely to see innovation within a core bank rather than off to the side quite so much.
Okay, got it. We are going to steer into leadership and future vision.
Okay.
So what is one piece of advice you've received and the best piece of advice that you've received and how has it shaped your career?
Okay. So I think the one piece of advice that really resonated with me was, and there are two ways of saying this. One is to fish where the fish are, or to swim or to kayak in the fast water. And what I mean by that is if you have ambitions and what you enjoy is being where the action is, where the resources flow, where you can make a change, where you can grow, you can develop, you can get promoted and build fun things, you'd better be where the action is. Because if you're sat in a mature business where margins are shrinking, or a mature part of any bank, or you might be the brightest, most innovative person there is, but get where the action is. So over my career, I've moved into payments, merchant acquiring when it was hot. I moved into digital assets when it's hot. I could probably move back in. But kind of just being alive to where things are happening and be there, because it's much easier to do well when resources and funds and people are interested in what you're doing, and to get people to pay attention to your narrative. Everything becomes much easier.
Okay, got it. So if you had to pick one priority for your company over the next 12 months, what would it be?
It is to, obviously I've got loads of priorities, and I could have chosen.
Most important.
I could have chosen growth. I could have chosen new product launch. But the most important thing is to make my first products and my first big strategic partnership successful. So I want a really good foundation. And what I mean by that is, product with a great product market fit, huge amount of activation on the customer base, members and loyalties, and products sitting side by side and really making the AA successful. Now I've got another couple coming off the cab rank. But I think moving on to signing more and doing more without making that the best it can be is not a strong foundation to build on. So I really want to get that right.
Got it. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone aspiring to be in your position one day?
I think two things. One is get a sponsor, a senior sponsor who likes you and trusts you, because that's the easiest way. Certainly within a corporate environment, I've seen that you could get tapped on the shoulder, you could be given an interesting thing to do. mentors don't give you that. The internal promotion process and job process doesn't give you that. So you need a leg up from somewhere important. Certainly that's what I've always had. And then secondly, enjoy what you do, but take the opportunity when it comes, because I think if you constantly come in every day aspiring for someone else's job, you're not going to have much fun on the way, and you might get disappointed in the end. So make sure you enjoy the journey in the here and now, but keep a keen eye for when the opportunity arrives.
Okay, final question as we begin to wrap this up. What does the future of embedded finance and banking as a service look like to you?
To me personally, it looks big in the UK. I would love to kind of get to the position where most large corporates just see it as the most obvious thing to do, and there's a bunch of successful use cases at scale, and where big brands become much more confident, and the supply side gets much better at delivering it. So I think we're some way away from that at the moment.
Got it. And with the good work that you do, we will be taking strides closer to a very beautiful...
Let's call it stepping.
Stepping.
Somewhere between inching and striding.
It depends. I have very short legs, so...
Okay, all right. One of you, a Sheryl stride.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Bank Tellers at Money 2020. Money 2020 Europe 2025. So I want to thank our guest Andy for sharing his insights on embedded finance and the exciting work happening at NatWest Boxed. So don't forget to subscribe to the Bank Tellers podcast for more conversations with innovators and leaders like Andy shaping the future of finance. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, I'm Sheryl, and this has been the Bank Tellers at Money 2020. Thank you.
Thanks.